Hey guys, today's story is about a guy that's reliving his school days. Once upon a time, I joined a Mutants and Masterminds 3E game over IRC. It was one of those superhero high school games. My PC was Panda Girl, an alien powerhouse archetype who had fallen off her ship over Earth, cratered near school, and had gotten amnesia. She was a simple folk who liked to punch bad guys. Fairly quickly I noticed that the GM didn't really understand how the system worked. For you see, one of his failings was MTM has two main metagame currencies: hero points, which can be used for effects like rerolls, power stuns, extra attacks, editing the scene, etc. And then you have power points, which can be spent to improve your character. With normal rulings, one hero point is supposed to be given to each PC at the start of the session, and more can be awarded if your PC runs into a complication, and they go away at the end of the session if they aren't used. And overall, they're fairly rare. Power points, however, are usually awarded at the end of the session, and the GM had decided to join these two currencies. Instead of the normal rules, he would award 10 to 20 hero points at the end of the session, and hero points could be spent to buy power points at a 10-to-1 ratio. Any unspent hero points would accumulate, and could be spent normally in later sessions. PC complications were also ignored, and I tried to point out the problems with this to the GM, but I was ignored. These new rules really messed with the way the system was supposed to work. Essentially, we had more hero points than we knew what to do with. We only needed or wanted to spend 1 or 2 hero points a session most of the time, so I quickly accumulated over 100 hero points, which meant that this effectively made my PC immortal. I could reroll anything I wanted to, and as my PC had the ultimate toughness ability, I could even spend hero points to get the best possible result on a toughness check, which meant that my PC could effectively be nuked multiple times, simultaneously, and survive. There was nothing that could threaten her. And the GM never fixed this problem. He seemed unable to admit that he made a mistake, which was an obvious red flag. But it never made the game less fun, it just made it make less sense. Now to get to the part where it did get less fun. The GM introduced a sort of rival team of superheroes at the school, and none of the PCs or players really cared about these rivals, as they never did anything important to establish a rivalry. Apparently, perhaps in an attempt to make us care about them, the GM made them bullies to our PCs. They did things like throw lunch trays under our feet to trip us and verbally abuse us, and the GM was quite talented with this verbal abuse. The insults cut rather deep, both in and out of character. Verbal bullying was actually a trigger for me, so I asked the GM to stop that, and he refused. I racked my brain for some time for a way of how to deal with this situation, as we weren't allowed to attack the bullies, or we would be threatened with expulsion if we started a fight. All the PCs and players had to just passively accept this abuse. There didn't seem to be anything that we could do, so I came up with a plan. The next time we were being abused by these bullies, my PC would abuse them back. However, her insults weren't creative at all. She would call them dummies, cowards, weak, etc., but she didn't stop. The GM threw back many more creative insults, but my PC would ignore them. She followed the bullies as the GM roleplayed them leaving lunch, going into the hall, etc., and insulting them badly the whole time. This whole thing lasted just over an hour of real time, and the bullies couldn't respond physically either, which also made no sense to me, seeing as how some of their members were also dummies with no self-control, just like my character. The GM now knew that he couldn't get away anymore with his bullying, or he would waste an hour of the session being bullied right back, and we were never bullied again, and the GM hated me for this. But that's a different story. Maybe I'll tell it some other time. I probably should have left the game earlier, but I was actually having fun for most of the game, but I did eventually leave though. Well guys, I feel like this guy has had some issues in school before, and might be trying to use the party as stress relief. He should probably see a therapist, and learn how to take criticisms and learn from his own mistakes. But in any case, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, maybe think about subscribing and joining my Discord to chat and hang out. But, as always, have a good one.